Produced by Podcast Architects.
Hi, Channa Borman here with straight talk and honest advice. We know this is a podcast about a person's journey. That is the journey in deciding to file for divorce, the divorce process itself, and then how that person will reacclimate to life, single life, after the divorce is finished. And today I'm fortunate enough to have my friend Rebecca here. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us today. So today we're hosted by the Stella Hotel, and thank you, Stella, for being so kind. And Rebecca, thank you for your time. I wanted to visit with you about your journey through your process. So you are in the process of divorcing.
That's correct.
Can you tell me, Rebecca, what were the, things that you considered when making, the final decision to file? And had that been a process over time, or was it something that you decided just in the spur of the moment?
It was a very long process. I probably first thought about divorce 12 years ago, but I had small children at home. I didn't have access to any of the finances. I stayed at home, didn't have a job. So it really didn't feel like something I could actually act on at that point in time. But of course, as things go, everything worsened, and it got to a point where I knew that I couldn't stay. I really wanted to stay until all the kids were out of the house, but I knew that that wasn't going to be a possibility.
Became so untenable, it just could not continue.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, what were the fears that you had? You mentioned that you were a stay-at-home mom, and you didn't have control of the finances. Were there any other considerations that entered into your mind?
I took my vows pretty seriously. I'm Catholic and wanted to work it out, wanted to have a good marriage, never thought I would ever get divorced. I didn't believe in that. And, so that was a concern. I didn't realize at the time that, God doesn't want us to live in an abusive situation, no matter if it's, physical or mental or financial or any of the above.
Mm-hmm.
And so on that journey, I learned things and learned that I didn't have to live in that situation. So
was it a long process to learn that?
Yeah, I would say, that whole time, the 10 to 12 years, I would kind of go back and forth on, whether I felt like it was the right thing to do or not. And I feel like if I had reached out and talked to people like my priest or friends or whatever sooner, I would have come to the decision sooner.
Really? So you didn't reach out to anyone during this?
I had a couple of friends, but I didn't share everything that was going on. So, but I feel like I should have spoken out to my priest and stuff sooner and realized that I wasn't going to go to hell if I got a divorce.
Do you think your priest would have reassured you that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they definitely wouldn't have, condoned divorce, but they wouldn't have said, you can't do that. There are certain circumstances where it's not safe to stay in a situation, or it's not good for the children or whatever. I have since reached out to my priest and had lots of great conversations with him. And yeah, it's been really good and reassuring.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I guess part of you was expecting your priest to say, okay, well, on the third day after you file for divorce, the lightning bolt will come down from the heavens and you will be, terminated. Right. Not, knowing that it isn't what God wants for us to suffer,
Right.
That God's plan for us is not for us to be miserable in a relationship where where God's path, what God wants us to stay married because God puts the husband in charge because he thinks the husband's going to be loving and caring, and
Right.
the wife first too.
Right.
And
yeah. And when the spouses aren't keeping up their ends of the bargain, and aren't leading their spouse to heaven, and I felt like it was leading me the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what God wants in a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that was kind of a light bulb moment when I was talking to my priest about all that. And, God doesn't want marriages like that. That's not a holy marriage. And
so let me ask, you have experience just physically. I see such a huge difference in you from the time that you filed to now.
right.
Had you come to that light bulb moment before you filed, or was that not until after?
I don't remember anymore. I know right before I filed, I wasn't quite thinking straight anymore. Life had gotten so crazy. I just knew I couldn't survive.
I feel
So,
like I recall when you filed, you didn't want to file. That was not
right.
the goal.
Yeah.
You did not want that. In fact, I think you felt really pushed to make that decision.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, I mean, I feel like you hadn't had that light bulb moment yet because you still felt guilt associated with the decision.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So how has your, I guess, feelings of self, how have you changed since you've made the decision?
Oh my gosh, I feel so much more confident now and happy and relaxed, not stressed, or a whole lot less anxiety. I can sleep at night. I'm just happy now. I see a future.
Focusing on that future,
Yes.
so important.
Yeah.
Had you been able to focus on a future before you made the
No,
decision?
no. I was living day by day, just trying to get through the day. I had no plans for the future. I just wanted to survive the day,
Mhm. You
you
couldn't
know?
see past that day,
Yeah, I
past that
couldn't.
minute.
Yeah.
What difference has that made for you to be able to see that future? What difference has that made?
It's a huge difference. I feel like I can be a better parent, a better friend, a better citizen. I'm actually, out and doing things, getting involved in the community, going back to school, increasing my knowledge. And so I just feel like I'm growing and it's exciting.
It is exciting.
Hmm.
I can see the difference in you. I just love it.
Yeah.
I think it is so cool. You and your spouse have not had a very healthy relationship, let's say, since the divorce started. And I
Right.
don't want to talk about any of those specifics, but what I want to say is, did you anticipate the level of difficulty you've been
No,
experiencing?
no. I didn't think it was going to be easy, but I also didn't think it was going to be this hard and this drawn out.
So
Yeah.
in seeing that it's so much, I guess, more challenging than you had foreseen to begin with, does that make you at all question the decision that you made?
No, it it kind of hammers it home that I'm making the right decision.
Mhm.
That this is the person that I was married to, and he can still behave this way.
So what advice would you give to women who, or even just people who find themselves in a situation where maybe they're struggling with the same sorts of concerns? The church says don't get divorced. I'm afraid my peer group isn't going to love me anymore. What advice would you give to them?
Reach out to your priest or pastor or whoever, someone that you respect their opinion, and have that tough discussion with them. Someone who will be unbiased about the situation, and friends, and be honest about the situation that you're in.
I think that's important right there, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned to me that you had some friends, but you hadn't shared all of it.
Right. I was embarrassed, and I also didn't want to talk bad about my husband. I mean, there are certain things I had to share, but there are other things that I didn't want to. I didn't
Mhm.
want to like totally destroy him in their eyes. But if they don't have the whole picture, how can they give good advice?
Right,
So,
right, right. So in the process of deciding to go ahead and proceed with the divorce, what things were you looking for? I'm a divorce lawyer, right?
mhm.
What things were you specifically looking for when you were seeking representation?
Well, I had a few years back before I met with you, I met with another attorney, and he was very nice, and but there was just something I didn't feel good about using him as an attorney. And then of course my husband found out and discouraged me from going through with it and all that kind of stuff. So I googled divorce lawyers in Bryan College Station and just read reviews, and I read several on you, and one of person said that you were a bulldog, and I thought that's what I need. I need someone who is going to fight for me and not back down and support me. And I met you, and that was exactly what I felt. I felt supported, and I knew that you would defend me, and I felt very confident from the first day we met.
So that was, I think, as a result of you feeling really powerless in your
Yes.
in your relationship, right?
Yes, completely.
So you needed a really strong advocate, someone who came
Yes.
across that way.
Hmm.
Do you think that other people should make those same considerations?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
find an advocate for them?
Oh, definitely. You
Mhm.
don't want someone who's going to be soft and be like, oh, well, that doesn't really matter, and not fight for what you believe in and what you want. They should be supporting you fully.
Well, there have been times when I'm sure people in my office and I have said, maybe that's not really what we should be doing. and some, right? Or what about when the lawyer pushes back and says, hey, I think we're on the wrong path?
Well, I've had questions, and I've had concerns that I've brought up with you, and you have explained it in a manner that makes me understand that, what I might be seeking is not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And your answers satisfy me, and I understand, like, I can look at the bigger picture. Sometimes I get down into the nitpicky
Weeds.
yes, and I forget to look at the big picture, and so you're good at focusing me correctly.
Well, I think, focusing on the future, right?
Yes.
Let's get you done.
That's right.
You're right.
Yes.
How much would that be worth to you?
Mhm.
You are definitely on a path to a better, brighter future. I think there's no question. Where do you see yourself going?
Well, I'm excited to start a new career once I'm done with school, and I don't know, growing in that and my extracurricular stuff around the town and volunteer work and whatnot. So,
Do you
yeah.
see any limit to what you can do?
No.
I mean, I see no limit to what you can accomplish.
Yeah.
You really have come so far,
Mhm.
right? Your fear was that he had a larger, I guess, control of the marital estate. That is, he was the
Mhm.
breadwinner. You were a stay-at-home mom, or at least years ago, you said that was one
Mhm.
of the considerations. Were you still a stay-at-home mom when you ultimately filed?
Yes.
So how did you mitigate that fear then at the time you filed?
Well, talking to you and your plan for how to deal with, getting legal bills paid for and whatnot. And you gave me resources such as Twin City Mission to go and speak to them. And so I got free counseling through them. They offer all kinds of resources. So there's lots of resources out there for people who don't have access to their finances. We just need to research that and find it, because that was pretty terrifying. I was like, what am I going to do? Live in my car with my kids?
Yeah, we'll share the back seat
Yeah.
on the good nights, right?
Yeah.
What advice would you today give to Rebecca from 10 years ago, say?
Don't be afraid. Trust in yourself. Go for it. Do what's right for you. Do what's right for your kids.
Rebecca, a lot of times I hear clients tell me that, they decide to file for divorce after their kids are out of high school. And I think even you mentioned earlier that you intended to stay
Right.
until your kids were out of school.
Mhm.
Do you now, having, in the middle of the process and finishing that process, do you think that you did the right thing by staying?
I don't think I did. I think I should have left much sooner, back when I was first considering it. I think staying actually harmed the kids more than it did any good. I mean, they had to live through 10 plus years of an awful toxic marriage, and there was time for David to turn the kids against me, which has made the divorce even that much more difficult
Mhm.
on the kids and on me.
Well, you thought you were doing the right thing, right?
I did.
You know?
I thought I was. Everyone says it's better for kids to be in a family with two parents. No broken families. But there are certain situations, toxic situations, where that's just not the case.
Mhm. Mhm. So sometimes kind of the better, most compassionate path is to finish it off.
Yes,
Right. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. But you don't know that till it's done.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah. Rebecca, thanks so much for coming and joining me today. I know that our viewers will really benefit from your wisdom. Thanks so
Thanks for
much for
having
your
me.
time. And thank you. Thank you for joining us here with Straight Talk and Honest Advice. We'll see you next time.
Produced by Podcast Architects.